This NFL Week 2 pregame show of Player Props edition of the Propcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code MACHINE or to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. And we're also brought to you by our friends over at Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome, everyone, to the Propcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. NFL Week 2 pregame show is here. You know how we do it here. We'll go through every single game, kind of rapid fire, give you our player props. We'll put together a touchdown parlay for the Sunday games here as well. And then we'll be ready to go for NFL Week 2. Once we're done, make sure you guys head over, obviously, to Sean and Kramer for the mothership on their show as well. They'll do a pregame show as well, leading right up to kickoff here for NFL Week 2. But joining me here on this NFL Week 2 pregame show, got my guy here with me. It's Lonte Smith. Lonte, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Got to pick up some slack. I think you did pretty well in the first show. I didn't do that well. So you holding us up right now. So I'm hopefully going to come back with some winners today. But yeah, looking forward to the slate today. Wish they I understand why they did it because of the Chiefs and Bengals, but I wish they split the slate up a little bit more. It's like 3-4 o'clock games.
Yeah, I think that was the case like last week as well. I think there was like 4 games in the afternoon. It's going to get even worse when we do get to starting bye weeks and things like that. Maybe there's only like 1 or 2 games on, but
yeah, they want to highlight those main games, especially if the Cowboys, the Chiefs, any of the big market teams are playing in the 4 o'clock window. Understand it, but I mean, you got like 8-9 games going on at 1 o'clock. You can at least split it up or have a doubleheader on Monday night. Like you got to do something. It's just impossible for everybody to watch.
I do remember. I'm just looking at the schedule right now. Last year, I know there was like week 2 where we had a doubleheader on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I thought so.
And then usually opening like week they do doubleheader as well, right? So yeah, we'll keep that in mind here. Just checking the schedule here, just some up to date news for injury reports. We'll just kind of go through it as we go to the games. So let's get into it here, man. We'll start off here with the team that you just mentioned, the Dallas Cowboys. They are going to be hosting the New Orleans Saints in this game. Currently, the line is sitting at -6 in favor of -6.5 in favor of the Cowboys. Total is 47. But player props, what do you look at in this game?
Man, to be honest, I didn't want to start the show off like this, but yeah, I couldn't find anything that I liked in this game. I was looking at maybe some unders for Derek Carr, but maybe they be in a negative game script, so that kind of talked me off of that. I know the Cowboys are going to bring a ton of pressure to try to heat them up. So I didn't like anything, so I just passed on this game.
Yeah, I didn't have much for this game either, to quite be honest. Maybe if you look at some of the tight ends in this game for the Saints, whether it's Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, I think had a touchdown last week as well. Unless he's not on the Saints there, I'll just double check that. But yeah, I obviously CeeDee Lamb's name is always in that conversation, being back at home. But I mean, that number is going to be, we know, upwards of 90 in this game for CeeDee Lamb there. So yeah, not much I really did like in this game here, as well as player props go. Let's get over to the Las Vegas Raiders. They are in Baltimore, take on the Ravens. Ravens in Vegas looking both for their first wins of the season. Currently as stands, the Ravens are a 8.5 point favorite in this game. Total is set at 41. Lonte, any player props in this game?
Yeah, I got 2, both correlated. I like Lamar under pass attempts, 29.5. He had 41 attempts in week 1, and you saw how that went. I thought they weren't in a negative game script, but somewhat of a not what they wanted to be. He averaged 28 last year. He was under this number in 9 of 16. So I don't think he's going to be more handing the ball off, a lot more, Henry work, maybe some short passes to likely Andrews and some of those guys. But I don't think he'll be able to go for 30 times. I don't think the game is going to call for them to throw it 30 times, to be quite honest. Once they get in the lead, probably just park the bus and sit on it, which goes into, another one that I have, Henry rush attempts and yards over. He had 13 for 46 in week 1. Usually, if you look at his stats after he received 13 or fewer carries, he usually goes off. I just follow it: 22 for 126, 12 for 97, 22 for 101, 10 for 38, which is the lone one that he didn't go over, 18 for 76, and 19 for 153. So those are the games last year following a performance where he didn't have over 13 carries. So I think he is going to have a big workload today, 20 plus carries, look for 100 plus yards. So I think that he has a big day. So I like his rush attempts and rushing yards over.
Yeah, I like Henry as here as well. I took his longest rush attempt to go over 14.5 yards in this game. Last week we saw J.K. Dobbins, what he was able to do against this Raiders defense. He had broken, I think, a couple out for long yards. I think there's one in particular where he went for 63 yards. So I think there's an opportunity for Derrick Henry, like you mentioned, to have a big game. And, if it goes according to game script, they're going to be feeding him the ball towards the end of the game, just kind of chewing up the clock there. So there's always that opportunity where he does break one out for about 15, 16, 17 yards in this game. I do like one also for the Raiders side of things. Brock Bowers over 34.5 receiving yards. He led the team last week in targets for the Raiders. Finished the game with 6 receptions. I think it was 58 yards last week for Brock Bowers. I think he's going to be a key contributor in this offense. We talk a lot about how Devontae Adams gets a lot of that attention for the for the Las Vegas Raiders. So I do think that there's an opportunity for Bowers to continue kind of filling that void with Gardner Minshew at quarterback there, and also the fact that what you mentioned, right, game script, that they are trailing by possibly double digits or 2 possessions in this game, that they're gonna have to throw the football. And I think that's only gonna open up more opportunities for a guy like Brock Bowers in this game. Let's move it along here to the San Francisco 49ers. They are in Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Current line sitting at 4.5 in favor of the 49ers. Total is sitting at 46.5 in this game here. Lonte, anything that you like as far as player props in this game?
Yeah, I like Debo to go over 55.5 receiving yards. You saw him get a lot of carries last week, kind of trying to get Jordan Mason
yeah.
in rhythm. So I think Debo had 6 or 7 carries. I think he'll be used more in a wide receiver role. We know Flores likes to blitz a lot. He saw 9 targets. Debo did in week 1, 6 for 54. The Vikes are going to bring a ton of blitz. They're going to play a lot of zone behind it. I think he can settle in behind it and go over this number. So I like Debo over 55.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I had mentioned this in one of my friends' chats that look out for Debo's rushing as soon as we knew that Christian McCaffrey wasn't going to play. But I didn't get to it, honestly. But there might be a possibility that he can do it again. I think they're going to have to utilize him a little bit more here as well. I wouldn't be opposed to taking interception props for both these guys here. I think that there was a point last season where Brock Purdy had mentioned that it was a really difficult place to play in Minnesota there, just because number one, that they're in a dome, and number two, those fans get a little bit rowdy to those fans there. So it's a little difficult to hear things and things like that. So Sam Darnold going up against his former team, I think that is also a possibility that he throws a touchdown. So if you want to parlay those two over half a touchdowns together, I think that you can.
Oh, you mean interceptions?
Yeah, I'm sorry, interceptions for both those receivers. Sorry, for the quarterbacks in Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold. All right, Lonte, let's get over to the next game on the board here. We'll go over to the Chargers and the Carolina Panthers. Panthers are catching 5.5 points in this game with a total of 39. Battle of 1-0 teams. There's 0-1 teams here. We saw what the Panthers were, or lack thereof, last week against the New Orleans Saints. Hopefully they keep this one a little bit more competitive. But did you like anything in this game as far as player props?
Yeah, I like 2. So I'm going to go with Gus Edwards over 43.5 rushing yards. Carolina lost Derek Brown on the interior of the defensive line. The Chargers look like they had an elite offensive line performance in week 1. I thought against a really good Vegas pass rush. I thought they did really well. Gus had 11 for 26 in week 1. Dobbins had 14 for, I think he had 130 or something like that. But, only a 61-yard carry kind of separated them two. So I think Gus has a chance to get on the board and get a lot more work this week against that Carolina front. So I like Gus over 43.5 rushing yards. Also on the Carolina side, I'm going Xavier Legette 4+ receptions at plus 250. He had 4 in week 1 on 7 targets. The offense should be a little bit more quick game against that pass rush for the Chargers. So if you look at it, Bryce, he did have time on some of those throws, like some of the interceptions that he threw. He had time. He just kind of airmail guys and miss guys. So I think Canales is going to put a lot more emphasis on getting the ball out quick. And Legette ran a lot of routes. He did a lot of good things. The short intermediate game, he's kind of like that Deebo Samuel hybrid for Carolina. So I think he has 4+ receptions at plus 250.
I think those, I mean, we talked about it prior to the season that I think that injury to Justin Herbert's foot, I think it's gonna take an impact. But they were really bounced last week when it came to as far as passing and throwing the football. Justin Herbert, I think, had 26 attempts pass attempts last week against the Raiders, and then they ran the ball 27 times. And again, it was split between J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. And I mean, we know, I think both these guys have that home run capability as far as rushing the football. And you take a look at what the Panthers gave up last week to Alvin Kamara. 15 carries, 83 yards, about 5.53 yards per carry in that span. So I do like J.K. Dobbins in this game. If you want to do a same game parlay, maybe take both guys to get 40+, rushing yards in this game. But I did play J.K. Dobbins over. The number was at 51.5 earlier this week, but I still like it. It's right at 54.5. And again, game script again that if the Chargers are out to a lead again late in that fourth quarter, there's no incentive to throw the football. You're going to have Gus Edwards in there. You're going to have J.K. Dobbins in there. And again, who knows? J.K. Dobbins is going to get that again in one play like he did last week against the Las Vegas Raiders. So I do like Dobbins in this game here as well. Here's to see what the splits are going to look like going forward, honestly. If it's going to stay, almost 50-50 for both guys, or maybe one of these guys, gets the bulk of the carries going forward. Let's get over to the next game on the schedule. Let's go over to New York Jets. They are in Tennessee to take on the Titans. Titans catching 4 points here at home with a total of 41. I didn't have anything in this game that I did like here. Lonte, did you have anything?
Yeah, I didn't have anything in this I liked anyway. I don't know what to expect from the play calling for the Jets was atrocious.
Yeah,
Will Levis was bad to end that game. He pretty much cost them the game. I thought Tajay Spears would have a bigger role. Maybe you want to look at some, the Jets allowed a lot of rush yards, but again, their offensive line is not as good as San Francisco's is. So yeah, it was kind of hard for me to find something here. If I had to play anything, I would play like some long shot stuff, like maybe some Breece Hall, 100+ yards rushing, Garrett Wilson, 100+ yards receiving, just some outlier stuff that you wouldn't expect here.
Yeah, I did see a note earlier in the week that their coach said that they will get Tajay Spears involved a little bit more in this game, or at least going forward, to compare to what we saw with Tony Pollard last week. Bills Mafia DJ 92 pointing out Will Levis over half of interception.
I'm pretty sure that's just like minus 250.
Yeah, I think you could probably maybe parlay that with maybe if you do a same game parlay of the ones that I mentioned with either Brock Purdy or Sam Darnold. I think that would be a good look here. Sack props, yeah. The defense was really the defense, I think, for the Titans was not really talked about because of how that game resulted in favor of the Bears last week, right? Against the Titans not scoring an offensive touchdown. And they still were able to score 24 points and cover the game, obviously due to special teams there. But I think that you can definitely parlay that with another interception prop that you do like. Sack props, but if you want to take like a total sacks in the game, I think I couldn't talk you off of that in this game. All right, let's move it along here to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions here. Right now, the Lions are a 7.5 point home favorite with a total of 51.5 in this game here. Lonte, player props you like in this game?
Yeah, man, two of my favorite. I'm 0-1. Well, actually 0-2 of saying my favorite prop of the week, but this is definitely two of them. I like Goff over pass yards, 270.5. If you shop around, I think you can find a little bit better, but I'm just going with like a consensus number. So 270.5 is what I see mostly. No Winfield in the secondary, limited pass rushers due to injury. Tampa Bay's banged up all over the place. Bowles is going to play a lot of zone. If you look at Goff's splits versus zone, he was really good. He threw for 287 and 253 versus Tampa the last two matchups. He didn't play well. He had 217 on 28 attempts. Now that could be, going against McVay and McVay kind of knowing his tendencies, him wanting to perform a little bit better against his former team. Understandable, but he didn't perform well. He had throws he missed. He threw that crucial interception to kind of get the Rams back in the game. I think he cleans all that up today. I think he has a good day. I wouldn't be surprised if he throws for 300 plus on this banged up Tampa secondary. And I think that goes right into the next one that I have, which is Amon-Ra St. Brown over 82.5 receiving yards. He's projected for like 7 and 82, a non-factor in week 1, which was, surprising to a lot of us. Much better matchup here versus a lot of zone looks, like I mentioned. Only 2 games last year where he had 3 or fewer receptions. He had 7+ targets in every game last year. 15 versus Tampa, 12 receptions, 15 targets on 12 receptions for him in that game. He did not have a game under 20 yards last year as well. Usually bounces back in the spot. I would ladder his receptions and his receiving yards up, but just for the sake, I would go over 82.5 receiving yards. I was going to give out the receptions, but at 6.5, it's juiced like minus 150. Don't want to give that out, so I'll stick with the receiving yards, 82.5.
Now you said Amon-Ra St. Brown, right?
Yep, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Okay. Yeah, I think that this definitely could be a bounce back spot for him. After last week wasn't a great start to the season for Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I think this is definitely a great opportunity for him. Bills Mafia asking latest injury update on Jameson. I do see that he is going to be playing in this game against the Buccaneers, which the couple ones that I did like in this game, maybe we should take longest reception for Jameson Williams. I think that's really the guy that's their home run threat, that deep ball threat, the guy that is going to stretch the field there for the Detroit Lions and try to get one over the top of the defense. But since like Lonte, you mentioned that they do play zone, that may be a little difficult here for Jameson Williams. The other one, Rachaad White, man, our guy, he continues having a big weeks. As far as receiving yards goes, let me see the official number for his receiving yards in this game.
Should be at like 24, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think last week it was like at 23.5, 24.5, but here I got it right here. Rachaad White is at he's up to 26.5 now, so it seems like maybe even the books are starting to catch up a little bit. I know Jalen McMillan has been a guy that people may be trying to buy with like kind of under the radar, because after Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, that third wide receiver is they're trying to make Jalen McMillan that guy there. So 28.5. Couldn't talk you off of that as well for this game. I think this is going to be one of the games where we do see probably points being put up for sure between the Lions and the Bucks. All right, let's get over to the next game here. The Indianapolis Colts, they are visiting the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, the news of no Jordan Love for the Green Bay Packers. So Malik Willis will begin the start here. Packers are catching 3 points in this game with a total of 41.5 here, Lonte. Any player props you like in this game?
Yeah, I like a couple, man. So I'm going to go with AD Mitchell, longest reception over 16.5. Could you check that number for me? I think it's 16.5, just to be for sure. I think it's 16.5 yards, if I'm not mistaken, because his receiving prop is like 32.5. But he only had 1 reception on 5 targets. 3 or 4 of those targets were overthrows by Richardson. He was wide open on a couple of those deep shots, and I think he'll capitalize on this one. Green Bay was giving up a decent amount of chunk plays to Philadelphia. I think Richardson should be able to kind of settle down and hit him across the middle or maybe on a deep ball. So I like AD Mitchell, longest reception over. Should be 16.5. I will sprinkle on him this anytime touchdown scorer as well, because I think he'll catch a bomb, maybe for a score, maybe a catch and run at the line of scrimmage. So I like that. Willis under 164, I think is the number, or 64.5. Anything above 150, I think is fine. He's not cracked 100 in any NFL game. I'm pretty sure that's widely known by everybody. I would expect more of a ground approach from them. A lot of quick stuff, get the ball out of his hands, not making him go through his reads, just one quick read and get it out. And that kind of correlates to my next one is Josh Jacobs over 17.5 rush attempts. Yeah, 16 in week 1, decent game script. I just don't think they'll rely on a lot of Malik Willis. We saw Indy have trouble with Joe Mixon, who ran for 130 against him. I think Jacobs are more bruising back. They'll give him 20 plus carries today just to keep the ball out of Willis's hands as much as possible. So Jacobs over 17.5 rush attempts, Willis under 164.5 passing yards, and AD Mitchell, longest reception, should be over 16.5.
Yes, he's 17.5 now for
that's
him.
Fine. That's fine.
But definitely shop around. You could probably get the best number there. I 100% agree about the approach. I think I will see a lot of Josh Jacobs in this game, whether it's through the air or whether it's in the running game. I do like his rushing and receiving to go over 83.5. We saw what Mixon did last week against this Colts rush defense or lack thereof. Almost had 160 rushing yards in that game. And also when you talk about some of these young quarterbacks that are getting kind of their first official start in the NFL and meaningful football, I think they rely a lot on the running backs there, right? Whether it's screen passes, whether it's check down. So I think that's an opportunity for Josh Jacobs to really pick up the yardage from that standpoint. And again, just really fading the Colts defense, rush defense, because like I mentioned, what we saw Joe Mixon do last week against the Colts rush defense there. So 83.5 is a number there. I do like Anthony Richardson under on his passing yards. Last week, he had 2 passes against the Texans that went for 114 yards. He finished the game with, I believe, which was 200 and I think it was 11.
Yeah, I was on that under Richardson as well.
Yeah. So I think that right now, or at least today, I think that he does get under this number. I mean, that number now is down to 194.5. So I'm not going to give it out there now with it down because it was at 201.5 earlier this week. So don't want to go there now. But I did play that under 201.5 for Anthony Richardson. Got anything else for this game?
No, that's it.
All right, let's get over to the New York Giants. They are in the nation's capital, kind of, to take on the Washington Commanders. I know they play a little bit down the road there, but right now the Giants are a 1.5 point road underdog. Total set at 43.5 in this game here, Lonte. Any player props you like in this game?
Yeah, I'm going to go with 2. I'm going to go with the Wan'Dale Robinson over, let me get an updated number. It should be 37.5 receiving yards. He had 6 for 44 last week. He had 12 targets. That was 5 more targets than the next most, which was Malik Neighbors. If you look at his splits, 22 and 35 versus Washington last year on limited work. And they were in a kind of a negative game script. I think this game will be a little bit more competitive. I mean, for my heart, yeah, I hope it is. So as long as Wan'Dale Robinson can kind of get out from the slot. Washington's missing Forbes. They got a shaky secondary anyway, and I think Forbes is one of the better cover corners. So I look for Wan'Dale Robinson to have a decent day. I'm just hoping that they don't force feed Neighbors after he had a decent performance, but I mean, you can't do much with your quarterback being inept. So I like Wan'Dale Robinson over 37.5 receiving yards. Also, on the opposite side, I like Eckler over 19.5 receiving yards. He only got 2 carries. They're leaving the carries a lot to, Jaden Daniels is taking a lot of the carries. You got Brian Robinson, who got, I think, like 14 or 15 carries. He caught all 4 targets for 52 yards. He led the team in yardage as a receiver. So the Giants allowed 2 backs to have 15 plus receiving yards. They rush the passer well, just don't defend it with the linebackers. Linebackers are not that good. I think they'll get Eckler in space and get him over this number. So I think Eckler over 19.5 receiving yards is a good look as well.
Yeah, I did play Neighbors last week. Longest reception to go over. I believe the number was 22.5 last week. I'm going to go back to that, man. Again, we saw what Baker Mayfield was able to do against this pass or lack thereof pass defense in week 1. I know Daniel Jones had a really rough week last week, but historically in head-to-head, he's been really good against the Commanders. I think he's 5-1-1 straight up in his career against the Commanders. I do like his passing yards, shockingly, to go over in this game. I think this is an ultimate, like, just based on matchup about how bad the secondary is for the Commanders, I think the opportunity are definitely going to be there. And like we mentioned, they do have guys that can, number 1, catch the football, and number 2, that can pick up the yards after the catch. So I think there's definitely going to be an opportunity here for Daniel Jones to get over his passing yards in this game. And number is currently up at 212.5. I think that he can definitely get to 230 plus in this game.
What was Neighbors' number that you got?
Let's see here. Last week was 22.5. Let me see. It's probably up to 23.5 is what yeah, it's 23.5 right now, currently over on
For
DraftKings for
Neighbors?
longest reception. Yeah.
No, longest reception. Oh, okay. You're going
Yeah,
longest
longest
reception.
reception.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, longest reception to go
Okay,
over
cool.
23.5.
All right, got you.
All right, yeah, I think that's it. I know I did see some news and stories that I was reading that they want Jaden Daniels to kind of go more through his progressions. I mean, we saw the stats last week about his rushing numbers, the rush attempts, and also the rushing yards. We'll see if that holds true again this week, but I know that the Commanders wanted him to go through his progressions a little bit more there, so I'll keep an eye out for that for sure in this game. Next game, we got the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots, a battle of 1-0 teams. Patriots catching plus 3.5 points here at home with a total of 38 in this game here. Lonte, any player props you like in this game?
Yeah, I like 2. I was waiting for the Kenny the Kenny Walker news earlier in the week so I could hit Zach Charbonnet. So I like his rushing and receiving yards. Do you have a number for that? I didn't
For
write it
Charbonnet?
down. Yeah, Charbonnet rushing receiving.
Let me see. Rushing
Like
and
70-ish.
receiving. Zach Charbonnet. Let's get down to the Patriots game. It is at not listed.
Okay, yeah, I figured. So yeah, well, I'll just skip that one. But that's one I'll be on for sure. I think he'll be able to exploit that. Those linebackers for New England. But I like Brissett under 182.5 passing yards. He had 121 on 24 attempts in game 1. New England wants to play slow. They want to control the clock. They had the ball for nearly 10 more minutes in Cincinnati. They gave Stevenson 25 carries. Gibson got 7. I think Brissett even carried the ball 10, 11 times. And he did get banged up and taken out of that game for maybe a series. So that's something to monitor as well. I just think they want to play slow, hand the ball off, a little short stuff. I don't think they had any receiver have like over 25 yards, if I'm not mistaken. So I expect a lot more Stevenson work. He got 25 carries last week. I'm expecting somewhat of the same dose. Seattle's pass defense, much improved. The rush defense, the front seven is much improved under Mike McDonald. We saw Denver kind of dink and duck their way down the field. So I think Brissett under 182.5 passing yards is a good look.
So they do have Charbonnet's rushing yards at 58.5. If you want to get on that. And then Ramondre Stevenson, I do like his rushing yards as well. That's at 60.5 for this game between these two teams. You got anything else for this game?
No, I don't. Nope.
All right, let's get over to the Browns and the Jaguars here, the last game of the afternoon schedule. Lonte, I'll be honest, I have nothing for this game.
Do I have anything? You said Cleveland. We had Cleveland, Jacksonville.
Yeah, Cleveland, Jacksonville.
Yeah, I got 2. So I got Jerome Ford over 3.5 receptions. He saw 7 targets. He had 6 receptions last week. If you look at what A-Chain was able to do to this secondary, he had 7 receptions versus Jacksonville. So I think Jerome Ford, a lot of quick stuff out of the backfield. The offensive line is banged up for sure for Cleveland. I was gonna look at Cooper, but I don't know if I can trust Watson. So I'll just trust him to check down and kind of get things going with Ford in the pass game. Also, I guess we can get to this later, but I like Bigsby. I like his rushing yards. I like his anytime touchdown at 340. If you could find that, he had 12 carries, which is more yards than ETN. His size and style, could be better suited for this matchup, especially with a physical Cleveland line. I think ETN is more of the get outside. Quick screen, they might put him in the slot a little bit more. So maybe you want to look at his receiving yards over. But I think Bigsby's going to have a decent day. So I like his anytime touchdown at plus 340. I like his rushing yards over too. It should be at I can't remember the last time I looked. It should be at like 40 something if I'm not mistaken.
For Bigsby?
Yeah, Bigsby.
I honestly just think I just saw it at 30.5.
Oh man, that's even better.
Let me make sure.
Maybe I was looking at his rush receiving.
Bigsby is at 30.5 currently over on DraftKings.
Yeah, like that over.
Yeah, for his rushing yards there. So yeah, I couldn't talk you off of that one. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, like you mentioned last week, right? I know 1 week sample, but Bigsby did definitely have the better day rushing the football. So now you get the true test going up against this defensive line of the Cleveland Browns. So we'll see how that transpires. All right, so that's last game of the 1 o'clock window. Let's get over to the afternoon games here. Started here with the LA Rams. They are in Arizona to take on the Cardinals. I did see this number jumping from pick to -1 in favor of the Rams. Right now, you can get a +1 on the Cardinals over on DraftKings. Total is at 48 in this game. Did see a news and note that Puka Nacua will be missing for 5 to 7 weeks for the LA Rams. And as far as any significant injuries for the Arizona Cardinals, didn't really see much here, Lonte. But any player props in this game?
Yeah, Rams are in bad shape, man. Stafford got banged up. Puka's gone. Offensive line, they were down to like the 3rd or 4th string left guard or left tackle or left guard, one of those. But and then they missed another right tackle, kind of got into some injury stuff. So I think they're going to rely on Kyron Williams a lot to run the ball. I like him over 17.5 rush attempts. He had 18 in week 1. Cook had success. He had 19 in somewhat of an early negative game script, and he was still able to have success on the ground. So I think LA lean on it's much better to run block than pass block for those offensive linemen. So I think they will rely on Williams more on the ground. So I like him over 17.5 rush attempts. For Arizona, I like Greg Dortch, 5+ receiving receptions for +240. He had 6 on 8 targets in week 1. He's not been good versus the Rams. 4 matchups, only 2 with Kyler, but in those 2, he had 12 catches on 19 targets. So if you just look, that's 6 receptions a game. I know Harrison, a lot of people are going to expect Harrison to kind of get things going, but I think Dortch across the middle will be fine. Dortch is one of Kyler's favorite targets. He has a monster target share with Kyler on the with Kyler starting. So I like Dortch, 5+ receptions, +240.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the injuries for the LA Rams. Stuff we didn't know from what transpired last week for them. Do you like Colby Parkinson over 31.5 passing or receiving yards for the LA Rams? I know a lot of the attention will be on Cooper Kupp, and he did look like he was back in 2021, 2022 form last week for this Rams team, especially when Puka Nacua left the game there. But he had 21 targets last week, did Cooper Kupp. I think that resulted in 14 receptions for him. But I think that Colby Parkinson can be that kind of second guy for this LA Rams team. Trey McBride's another guy. I think that could be the guy there for the Cardinals. Probably I would go with his receptions. The number right now for his receiving yards is at 50.5, but let me see. I think his receptions are probably at 4.5 for Trey McBride here. Let me get to the screen here for the receptions. Trey McBride is at 4.5, but it's at -170 there. So if you want to get a 5.5, there's a possibility. Marvin Harrison Jr.'s numbers at 4.5 for his receptions. I think that may be a little bit rich. Maybe he gets going in this game, but I want to see it before I can get there with Marvin Harrison. I really need him to get it going as well because he is on one of my fantasy teams. But he had a clunker of a game last week, so we'll see what transpires for Marvin Harrison Jr. in their home opener this week against the LA Rams. All right, Lonte, let's get over to the Bengals and the Chiefs. Currently, this number is bouncing from 5.5 to 6 in favor of the defending Super Bowl champions. They have the extended rest since they played week 1 on Thursday Night Football. Right now, it's up to 6.5 over on DraftKings right now. Total is set at 48 in this game. And, I mean, we know all the concerns with the Bengals is the wrist. Still a lingering thing for Joe Burrow. We did see also the news that Jamar Chase not very happy with the front office of the Cincinnati Bengals, saying they misled him. So no contract talks are going to happen during the regular season, at least. And also T. Higgins is going to be out for this game here as well. Chiefs relatively healthy. Didn't see anything major. Obviously, Hollywood Brown is the latest news I saw was that he's not going to play this season for the Cincinnati Bengals, but I'm sorry, for the Kansas City Chiefs there. But what do you like in this game for Bengals Chiefs?
Yeah, man, definitely a tough game for sure because you never know with Kansas City. They do a good job of spreading it around. I'm going to go with Mike Gesicki over 24.5 receiving yards.
Yeah.
Hudson is doubtful, so Gesicki should see a little bit more targets. Kansas City has been susceptible to tight end targets and allowing them to eat a little bit. Chase is likely to be shadowed by one of the best corners in the league, and McDuffie. I'm not sure. You mentioned the stuff that's going on with Chase. I mean, how locked in is he at all?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of stuff going on with the Bengals, man. I was high on them coming into the season, but that's probably one of my biggest bet regrets, the way their season is going. I mean, it's only one game, but just all the turmoil that's going on with the contracts and Burrow not being healthy, or saying he's healthy, but he's really not healthy. He hasn't really showed the ability to stretch the field in game one. So I think Gesicki over the middle should be a good, safety valve for him. So I like him over 24.5 receiving yards.
I was looking at what the Bengals played. Yeah, we talked about obviously. Yeah, Ramondre, obviously. You mentioned, right? Ramondre had a great week against the the Bengals defense. And the guy the past couple seasons before he did depart was DJ Reader, right? We talked a lot about him. He was a run stopper for this Bengals team. And now, obviously, with the Detroit Lions there. But I think this is an opportunity for Isaiah Pacheco to really have a big game here for the Kansas City Chiefs. You mentioned they're spreading the ball around a little bit more. I think that there's going to be a little bit more of a balanced attack as well going for this Chiefs team. Maybe a little bit more run heavy and kind of exploit that run defense of the Cincinnati Bengals. His number was at 66.5 for Isaiah Pacheco. I do like it. He did get 15 carries last week against the Ravens, but it only equated to about 45 rushing yards. But Isaiah Pacheco, at least during the regular season, has faced this Bengals teams twice. And he's been pretty good in those games. He had one game where he went 100-plus rushing yards, which was actually last season on December 31st. 18 carries for 130 yards. And then back in 2022, 14 carries, 66 yards. So 4.7 yards per carry that game. And then he had 7.2 yards per carry last season against his Bengals team. So I think that he can definitely have a big game here against this rush defense of the Cincinnati Bengals, or lack thereof. Rashee Rice, I think that's the guy. That's the number one target now for Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce feels like he's taking a little bit of backseat. Maybe, age is catching up with him, or a lot of tread on the tire. Obviously, all the off-the-field stuff with dating Taylor Swift and the podcast deal that him and his brother did get. So maybe a little bit of a distraction there for him, or maybe honestly just saving his legs for the latter part of the season or the postseason, or the case might be. But I think with Rashee Rice, the ability, number one, to catch the football and get the yards after the catch, I think that's really, really big for Rashee Rice. Let me give you the official number for his receiving yards in this game. That number is going to be at Rashee Rice is at 64. No, where you go? 67.5 now. So I got this at 66.5. It's up to 67.5. I think he could definitely walk into 70+ receiving yards in this game here from Mr. Patty Mahomes there. You got anything else for this game, Lonte?
No, I don't.
All right, let's get over to the clunker game of the week. It's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are in the Mile High City to take on the Broncos. They are catching 3 points, are the Denver Broncos in this game, with a total of 36.5 here. Lonte, anything you like in this game?
Yeah, I like McLaughlin. What is he? I like his over 48.5 rushing and receiving yards. He outsnapped Javonte last week. And we talked about the Denver. I had Bo Nix receptions. Just a lot of checkdowns. This is just a perfect way to sum up what Denver's offense is going to be. McLaughlin had 5 receptions for 1 yard, on 5 targets. He had 15 total touches for 28 yards. I would expect him to kind of get the ball in space to kind of negate that pass rush for Pittsburgh. Bijan had 23 touches for 111 yards. Now, he's obviously not on Bijan's level, but I think just pure volume, he can get over this number. So over 48.5 rush receiving yards for McLaughlin.
Yeah, I don't hate that. You mentioned what Bijan did last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I didn't really have much for this game. Maybe Justin Fields rushing yards.
Yeah, I looked at that too.
Yeah. I know the attempts are going to be there for sure. It's just the fact that can he?
I kind of like his passing yards, to be honest. I think Denver's secondary is, a little bit overrated outside of Surtain. So I think he can maybe hit, some passes with Fry move.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was looking at that, but I didn't play it. So
yeah, nothing official for me in this game here, so I'm not going to force it here. All right, let's get to Sunday night football. The Chicago Bears, they are in my part of the world to take on the Texans. Texans are laying 6 right now. Is the number total is sitting at 45 in this game here. Lonte, anything you like in this game?
man, I know it's boring. I don't have anything for this game, man. I mean, Chicago, like we don't even know what to expect because they didn't have much offense. I
Yeah,
mean, I was expecting a lot more from Swift, and going on the road against a defensive coach, like I don't think that's good for Caleb Williams and his offense. I mean, I think Houston's going to have something schemed up for him. Now, will he adjust? I don't really trust Eberflus at all, or that offense to kind of get things going against a good defense. Rookie quarterback, first row start, hostile environment, prime time. So I'm going to lay off this game. If I had to do anything though, I would look at Mixon receiving yards over. I think the Chicago defense is one of the best in the NFL. I really do. I think they showed that last week. I think they showed that to end last year. So I would look at his receiving yards. I think they'll kind of get him into space, use those receivers to kind of get him underneath to get things going. So maybe you look at Joe Mixon receiving yards, but anything official, I don't have anything.
it's just going to be tough to gauge anything of what the wide receivers do for this Texans team because it could be any one guy on any given week, right?
Yep.
And I think the yardage numbers are going to be inflated because any given week, like I mentioned, it could be Stephon Diggs, it could be Nico Collins, it could be Tank Dell. So I honestly didn't have much for this game. I wanted to get there with DJ Moore, but again, like you mentioned, Caleb Williams just looked really, really bad last week. He is going to be the number one guy. I do see that Ruma Dunze is on track to play this week for the Chicago Bears. Keenan Allen got majority of the targets last week. So again, I just kind of want to see going forward from the Chicago Bears team, like who's going to get the targets. Is it going to be Keenan Allen again? Is DJ Moore going to be able to step up? And what honestly, it just all predicates on how good Caleb Williams does look for this team. So I'm not going to take a lot away from what happened last week, but kind of going forward over the next couple of weeks here, starting tonight with the Texans, we'll see how Caleb Williams does look for the Chicago Bears. All right, so that is the last game for the Sunday card there. Lonte, let's put together our touchdown parlay for the week, and then we'll get into some bet rhythm stuff here. We can put a underdog fantasy entry together to wrap up the show here. Let me get to the touchdown scores for this week, and then we'll put together our parlay here. All right, who do you like to find the end zone, man?
Let's see. I like. What is this? I don't want to give out.
You mentioned somebody like at plus 340.
Yeah, I Tank Bigsby. I like Tank Bigsby to get in the end zone.
All right, let me see if I can find him here. Jacksonville. Tank Bigsby is at. Where is Bigsby? His number is at plus 380.
Oh yeah, definitely
over
take that.
on DraftKings.
Definitely take that.
Who else do you like?
I like St. Brown to get in the end zone.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the more higher scoring games this week.
Yeah, definitely.
Give me a second. Let's see here. Amon-Ra St. Brown is at minus 110. We'll throw him in there.
How many did we go with last week? 4. I think.
Yeah, we usually go with 4. Oh, we did.
Yeah, we hit. Hold on.
We hit Kamara.
It hit Kamara, Ford. We didn't hit Kincaid, and we had Neighbors. So those two didn't come in through.
Okay.
4. So it went to a 4.
Kind of like someone in this Rams and the Cardinals game. Is it Trey McBride at Harrison plus 130 is a number?
Oh no, that's too
yeah. Low. McBride is at plus 145.
I
You
can get
got
behind.
Greg Dortch as at 3-1.
Yeah, I kind of like McBride. I think Dortch is just more of a volume thing, and if he breaks, he breaks. He really just works the middle of the field, and then kind of like he gets a lot of the target shares. But I think McBride is good if you want to go with that one. I like that
Yeah,
one.
we'll throw him in there. And then let's find one more here. That's our tight end for the week.
Yeah, gotta have one tight end. We got tight end, running back, receiver. Honestly, if you want to go, I'll give you two, and you can choose your favorite one.
Yeah.
I think Daniel Jones has a chance to get in the end zone
Okay.
against his defense, and I also think that that's another quarterback that I was looking at. Jaden
Field.
Daniels is going to be too juiced. What about? So I was looking at Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson.
Anthony Richardson. So Daniel Jones is at plus 235. And
Anthony Richardson should be minus.
let's see. You got to go all the way back to the top here. Oh, no. Where'd he go? Saints, Titans, Lions, Packers. Here we go. He's at plus 150.
Let's do that. I like
All
Anthony
right.
Richardson.
All right, cool. So let me take this. All right. So our touchdown parlay for this week is going to be Anthony Richardson. It is going to be Trey McBride. It is going to be Tank Bigsby. And it is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
That will get you to around 55-1.
Oh yeah.
Let me put that up here on our banner so people can tell it if they like. So our anytime touchdown parlay will go again. Trey McBride of the Cardinals. We will go Anthony Richardson of the Indianapolis Colts. And we will go Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to put his initials RSB and Bixby for that. And that will come out to 55-12 over on DraftKings is the official number there.
I like that.
So there you go. All right. So Trey McBride, Anthony Richardson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tank Bigsby, 55-1 for our touchdown parlay of the week here. I think that's pretty much it, man. Anything else that we want to throw out there before we hand it over to the bosses?
If you can find, they have these props on certain site, or they should on certain books. If you could find to lead the day in receiving, I mean, I got to go with St. Brown. I think St. Brown leads the day in receiving. I don't have a number on it. I really didn't look it up. I'm just off the top of my head. St. Brown and then Henry to lead the day in rushing. I think both of those are live to get right.
I think DraftKings does have that market here. I think I got it here. So, oh no, that's just per game. I don't think they have it for the week.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe it's FanDuel that has it.
Well, you can get a plus 130 for him to lead the game, that specific game.
Oh yeah.
As far as
that's St. Brown.
Yeah, for receiving yards over on DraftKings. Who'd you say the other one did you want to do?
Henry to lead the day in. I guess I know he'll be a minus number to lead the game in rushing.
Yeah, he's like a minus 230.
Yeah, but just to lead the day, they usually do that.
Yeah, I don't know where to find that market. I'm under the most right now. Maybe it is player specials. No. Weekly specials. Let's see if it's there. Weekly leaders.
Yeah, it should be under weekly leaders.
All right, here we go. All right, so for rushing yards, Derrick Henry is 11-1. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is 8-1. He's trailing CeeDee Lamb and Cooper Kupp plus 650.
Oh yeah. Love that. Love that.
All right. There we go. That is it for this NFL Week 2 pregame show. Here, a lot of props that we did give out here. So hopefully we come back next week and talk about some more winners and we have a profitable week. Not anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
Nah, but if you missed the show, you just want to catch up, I'm gonna put it out on Twitter like I did last week. I'll just update the record from week 1, and then I'll just post it in the same thread. That way, it's not just continuing. Just like every week, you got to look at the same post. So yeah, I'll put that out with our plays that we like, and yeah, hopefully we can win.
Yeah. Hopefully it is another profitable week here. We got some good matchups for the week here. So again, like Lonte mentioned, he'll put that sheet out on Twitter. Just make sure you guys follow us on Twitter. That is going to be, let me just make sure here on our handle for the Propcast. It's Propcast at SGPN. Just again, go ahead and follow us there for not only for the show, but also for the sheet that Lonte does put out there. So yeah, you can get all of our plays that we just discussed here for the NFL Week 2. And again, our touchdown parlay, just to recap: Trey McBride, Anthony Richardson, Amon St. Brown, and Tank Bigsby.
I have that up there too. Yeah.
To 1. Yeah, there we go. All right, we'll talk to you guys next week for NFL Week 3. I know Sean and Kramer are about 10 minutes away from their pregame show. So if you want to jump over there to the Sports Gambling Podcast YouTube channel, they'll get you guys ready for NFL Week 2. All right, make sure you guys follow Lonte over on X. That's at XXLonteXX. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. More importantly, make sure you guys hit the thumbs up button here on the stream. And then also, if you haven't already subscribed to the Propcast there, we'd definitely appreciate it. All right, good luck with your bets this week. Let's break these books off. And again, let it